Yeah, we hear that a lot, but I mean, I don't know about you, but I think that comes down to you not letting go of,
Definitely.
and not maybe that. For me, getting a manager on board is a time frame of coaching and training and spending time with the manager, letting them not follow you, but shadow you, understanding how you work, how you want things done.
I mean, there's an element of definitely that whole coaching, but somewhere along the line, yes, you can't let go, that's for sure. You're not able to let go. But a lot of time what we see is that, I didn't want to lose her or him.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I'll put them as a manager.
Yes.
I'll give them a little bit more money, a little bit more senior. And what are they doing in the salon? Well, they're still doing treatment or they're still cutting hair. And if you're still cutting hair, you can't really manage as much, or you're not given that time, you're not being coached.
Yeah.
So really, ultimately, it's like, to me, it's a lot of setting up for failure.
Yeah, I mean, and taking a therapist or a stylist and suddenly giving them a management role as such, that most people haven't had management experience, so they don't know what that involves or what's expected of them. So it's setting the expectations. And also, I think sometimes for owners, we think, right, we need a manager, we make someone a manager, but do we really know what we want them to do in that role? Is it that they just need to, make sure that the operations of the day run smoothly? Are we wanting them to do admin? Are we wanting them to take meetings? And then I think what happens is we then don't have the time to spend with them. And I see that all the time, is that you make someone a manager, but you don't have the time to spend with them to actually build them into that management role. So they're just a manager. But you haven't taken the time, and it is prioritising that fact. If you've decided you need a manager in the business because you want to step away, or you want someone else to take that responsibility, then you've got to invest the time as the owner into that manager to build them into what you want, because they're not just suddenly overnight going to change from therapist to manager because they've been given the title. And I think sometimes we hope for that and we want that, but it doesn't happen like that.
Definitely.
So it's having that plan.
It's a process and a plan, isn't it? But there's an element as well. Yesterday we were talking with someone who, she was saying the owner, and this is a manager who's doing one of the program, the owner is still very much present.
Yes.
Very much present. And she can't even do kind of meetings with the team, the manager and the team on their own, because the owner has to be there. And she has to listen to what the owner says. So the owner is finding it really hard to let go. And really kind of, this is micromanagement at its best, really, isn't it? Where we can't let go, we've got to be present just in case things are not being done the way I want them to be done. And therefore, it just generates a whole new level of really, why is it you have a manager, ultimately?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's the point of it? So maybe we're not assessing, it goes back to the structure, everything goes back to the structure every time we talk. Because ultimately, why do you need a manager? What has made you thought that you really want to have a manager to be present? What is the thought process around it? Because if you decided that because, I'm going away, I need someone to be there, or doing opening or closing, is it really manager or is it a supervisor? Is it really a manager or is it a coordinator of the reception? Is it, so the structure is going to define the workload ultimately. But equally, a lot of time is that we're not, like you say, we're not giving the time for the managers, but are the managers also being empowered by anything else than their day-to-day?
Exactly. And also it's a case of, they, as an owner, you want that manager, but you won't allow them that time to be a manager. But you want them to do the duties and do this, but then they're in the treatment room maybe still, and they can't flourish as a manager. And also, if you're on top of them as a manager, and watching their every move. I think I did a video on that once where I said, you know, you've got to let them make mistakes as well.
Yeah.
But if you set the training plan, you know what you want them to do, you understand yourself, like you said, you've looked at the structure, you know what you want of that role, whether it's manager, coordinator, or whatever it is. You know what you want of that role. You understand what time frame they need to be able to do that in, because they need the time to do it. And then you give them all the tools and all of the coaching around that, and then you've got to let them go a bit. And you can't have that constant, you know, what happens is a manager will come on board and then you have that constant contact with the owner. So really it's no different than you doing it yourself.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, absolutely. But once, you know, you've got to make those leaps forward and then let them give it a go on their own.
Yeah, well, definitely, 100%. But also follow-ups, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once you've let that go, then what are the follow-ups, which is what we're installing with the owners. What is a follow-up? When are you meeting? That meeting you have with the manager is probably one of the most important meeting of the week. So you know what's happened last week, you know what they're focusing on this week, and everything is really set.
Yes, yeah.
But a lot of time it's definitely a trust issue, perhaps, a little bit on... Am I trusting my business to someone else, or I'd rather do it myself because it's a lot easier or quicker, or like you said, I can't allow them to be mistakes or whatever. But we've got a client at the moment who has set up that structure that we really felt he needed, and we really felt it was going to be good, etc. And now 6 months down the line, he's very frustrated because, you know, things are still not being done. He's still very much in demand.
Yeah.
So they're still very much poking at him quite a lot. You know, I need this, I need that, and in order for me to do the website, I need you to sign into this. So when we analyse a little bit further down the line of what's going on, he is letting go without still having to be part of it. So therefore, for example, well, why don't you give the password to the website?
Yeah.
So the marketing, well, no, I mean, no, you can't just give my password.
Yeah.
So then, well, yeah, every time she needs to do the website, she's going to need to ask you, boom. It doesn't take long, and it's not much in a big scheme of things.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you're still in demand. You're still being poked at in a day because she needs to do her work.
Yeah.
And if you can't answer straight away, it's just a rock-on effect of basically her having to wait for you to be available to get that password.
Yeah.
And that's a tiny little thing that could be very much resolved. Absolutely. So if you don't trust the process, then what's the point, really?
Yeah, or trust the person you've put in charge. And I mean, that's very, very relevant, absolutely. But also as well, for me, it's an element of the team, maybe the manager hasn't been introduced as a manager to the team properly. A lot of people do that as well, where they make that person a manager in their own minds, but the team don't know that. So the team is still going over the manager to the owner. And I think it's about really setting in place what each person's role is, what this, so therefore from now on, anything goes straight to the manager, and then if it needs to come to me, it comes from the manager to me, and setting the boundaries and setting the expectations of that person's role to the team. Yeah. Because I think that's quite often we don't remember to tell the team enough.
Yeah, we're on our own mission, isn't it?
We're on our own mission. We want them to do this and that.
Yeah.
And it's assuming that the team kind of know what you're doing and know what's happening in the business, and they don't, because they're coming in, popping their coat in, having their coffee, getting on with their day.
Yeah.
So their process is, if anything happens, they're still just calling you straight away or whatever. Yeah. Even though you might say to so and so is now the manager.
But isn't it down to you as an owner to be able to not take that phone call or have that strength into really letting go?
Yeah, or being able just to push back and say, okay, that's fine. Well, so Kelly, just for argument's sake, Kelly's now dealing with that. So if you go to Kelly, she'll sort that out for you, rather than, because it's a trap.
Nurturing.
Because you fall into that, don't you? Whereas I'll just quickly answer the question now, but you have to have that pushback as well. And it's time, and people take time to understand a change and get used to it, and it's just about consistency, backing up what that role is said, so you're not taking that phone call, you're not answering that question, because you've got to back the manager that you've made the manager. You've got to back that up with supporting them within their role by pushing back.
And if you've made someone a manager because you didn't want to lose them, then that has to be revisited at some point, which is what we're doing a lot, isn't it? Where actually, yes, this person is great, she's amazing, she's taking the most money, and I'm thinking of someone in particular, taking the most money, you've put her as a manager, you don't want to lose her, but she's doing nothing on the management level, because it's just an afterthought and a title that perhaps, you know, felt quite good at the time, but actually it's just going against you now.
Yeah, and also it's not always going to be the therapist or stylist that takes the most money and is the best with the clients that's going to be right for the management role. That's not always the case. It's, you know, and like you said, I think we often give out that title to retain that member of staff because we want, you know, we want to reward them, we want to thank them for what they do, but also it's been very clear, does that person understand what being a manager is about? And I think going back to my days, you know, I think a lot of the therapists within my clinic, they would have loved to have, you know, I definitely want to be a manager. But when you really understand what the management role is about and how many angles you get hit by, you probably don't necessarily always want that role. You're quite happy in your role, but you just want to be recognised as a senior or whatever, however it needs to be.
It reminds me of a client that I had many moons ago who basically said to me, you know, we had a really individual meetings, I really was going on about let's do individual meetings. So, well, I found out of 32 of my staff, they all want to be a manager. She said, thank you, Valerie. Do I need to actually open, 32 clinics? So actually I'm able to, to satisfy and keep them at work, etc., and work with them. And so, no, I tell you what, we're going to do a management program and we're going to start with stock. And for 6 months, I need to focus on the stock. And I'd say there's 2 years management program. I took the 32, there was only 2. We're like, yes, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah,
because it's just a dream of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the reality of being that is much different. I mean, it's a fantastic role.
It's amazing.
If you're right for it.
Yeah, if you enjoy many aspects of it.
Yeah. But I think just going back to you've got a manager but you're still doing everything, unfortunately does fall on you really. You know, it's how you've introduced them into that role, what the training is that you've given them, what your expectations are, what the timeline you've set for it. So by this point in 3 months' time, I want you to be able to be doing this part of the business or the management role, and then letting them do it. It's easier said, let it go. It's easier said than done, but you know, I mean, I went on that journey with my manager, and you know, at some point you do just have to step back and let it go and realise that the business doesn't fall to the floor in a week when you've left. Is realisation that actually, you know, when you walk back in and everything's kind of operating as it should, you know, you're like, wow, this is amazing. But it is understanding yourself and allowing yourself to let go, basically.
So all you have to do now is press the subscribe button and join us every week for an Insight Chat.
And if you have any burning questions that we haven't yet answered, then just pop in the comments below or send us an email and we can include them in one of our weekly chats.
And also we have started this amazing community of like-minded salon owners to join us on a monthly basis with our Insight Chat subscription.
Yeah, on that chat as well, you'll also get access to lots of free downloads and content that can really support you in your business.
And thank you so much for listening.
And we'll see you next time.